Hey guys, you're tuned in to another episode of Say What with me, Nitya,
And me, Bernadine.
And today we're going to be tackling a slightly more controversial issue regarding the entire debacle of Alvin Tan and Vivian Lee and their sex blog. So Bernadine's just going to give you a quick overview in case you've missed it.
Okay, so what happened is that Alvin, an NUS law student, he made a sex blog with Vivian, and this blog was discovered by the media. So this whole issue blew up, and there were a lot of reactions to it, right?
Yeah, quite a lot of extreme reactions, in fact. And quickly, before we get on to the entire topic, we'll just play you a YouTube clip of their response and their stance regarding the apology.
What do we have to apologize for? For hurting your soft, sensitive feelings? For what? For, I don't know, breaching some moral code that you hold dearly to yourself, but I do not necessarily hold them myself. So we will not make a public apology.
Okay, so from what I've heard, although they said that they don't think there's anything that they have to apologize for, they did actually apologize to NUS, but this was more for bringing the entire institution into the whole issue and for tainting their image regarding their actions.
Yeah, also because I think Alvin's a ASEAN scholar, right?
Right, yeah. I remember you were telling me that you were very shocked and you were a bit disappointed that he was a scholar.
Well, I guess you would assume that scholars are so-called more upright. It's a stereotype, it's an assumption. Like, it's also kind of similar to the Amy Cheong thing.
Right.
So, you would assume that these people have certain values. It's more of a stereotypical thing.
Well, that being said, I can't really blame Alvin for not agreeing to apologizing, because at the end of the day, as you can tell from the video clip, he obviously didn't think or doesn't think there's anything wrong with what him and his girlfriend did and posted. But at the same time, yes, he should apologize for the fact that he has offended a couple of people who aren't okay with such things being on the internet.
Well, for me, my stand is different people have different value system.
Right.
So whether he apologizes for having a sex blog is one thing, but I don't think that it's so right for him to say, oh, we're not going to apologize because we don't think it's wrong outrightly. It's just like trying to provoke angry reactions from people.
Well, talking about reactions, actually, funny thing is, what they wanted was media attention and reactions. And if you read a couple of their interviews and you listen to this entire clip, they go on and on about how they're so glad that they've actually gained many followers and many supporters. And it's quite surprising, actually. Well, I mean, their entire motive was to gain such attention, so they obviously are very happy that they've gained this attention, and that's one of the reasons why they refuse to apologize.
Well, I guess it's interesting because I would have thought that, he wouldn't want to lose his place in NUS, being a law student and all.
Yeah, but with relation to that, what I read was that he pretty much knew that he was not going to be able to go back to NUS, and at the same time, he does have a business in Malaysia currently that is supposedly doing well enough by his standards, so it's not considered a loss for him whatsoever.
Yeah, but his blog had many repercussions, right?
Yeah, it was, like I said before, there were many extreme reactions to his blog. One extreme reaction obviously came from Vivian's parents, who were very, very upset about the entire act. And in fact, the blog came down more because of family pressure from her side.
Oh.
Alvin's parents were actually pretty okay with it, surprisingly.
So the blog's taken down now?
Yeah, the blog is taken down right now. But if you if you go to the blog website, it now says that if you want updates, you need to sign up through an email, and then they will send you updates, whatever those may be. I'm not really sure.
Interesting. So the blog is not actually down per se. It's still there, but it's restricted in that sense.
Yeah, that's right. It's, I guess, a little more subtle in some ways.
Interesting. So, media reaction to it? What's your take?
Well, I'm not surprised that there was such a huge outcry regarding the blog. Of course, this is not something that people expect. But at the same time, there were a couple of reactions that I wasn't very okay with. I read somewhere that a lot of older women were pointing fingers at Vivian and saying things like, look, you know, if this is the kind of thing that you're doing right now, what kind of mother are you going to be in the future?
Wow.
Yeah, and I think that's really extreme because, well, if you think about it, Vivian's parents were obviously very conservative and strict, and yet she's turned out like this. So who's to say that that Vivian's gonna be this kind of a mother, or even that her kids are gonna turn out exactly the same way?
That's true.
And at the same time, I strongly believe that your stand on sexuality does not define your morality. They're two different things.
Wow, that's a big stand.
Well, yeah, I mean, but you gotta live and let live, you know? Just because someone is okay with expressing their sexuality openly like that doesn't mean that they're necessarily a bad person per se, or they're gonna be a bad mother. In my opinion, there's much more to morality than just your basic sexual viewpoints.
Interesting. Well, I guess my view on this would be that, you know, what you do in the past or what you do now doesn't really define who you are in the future, and people do make mistakes. So I guess what the older ladies, as you were mentioning, were saying about her not being a good mother, I think that's pretty extreme.
Yeah.
It's like making sweeping statements about what you will be, and anyhow accusing people of something they haven't even done.
Exactly. And that being said, if we want to look at it, it's a bit interesting that they didn't mention anything about Alvin and Alvin being a dad.
True.
But I'm guessing that would be a whole different ball game we'd have to tackle.
Yep. So, what's your overall take on it?
Well, personally, I kind of go by the whole live and let live rule. So I think that if you really if you're very passionate about something like posting your sexual life and relationship online, then each to his own. But at the same time, there's a couple of things that you need to consider. You should be smart about it in terms of the fact that you do have certain responsibility to institutions and to other social relationships like your parents. So maybe wait until, you know, you've graduated or you've discussed it with your parents or something like that. And B, don't make it so open such that anyone can stumble across it. This blog was so easily accessible that anyone could come across it. And of course, I don't think that is acceptable, especially not for young kids. So maybe if you want to do something like this, join a community where people have to sign in or register in order to see such things online. Or like what they've implemented right now, you go to the blog and then you get live updates through email. What about you?
Well, my take on it will be that having this kind of blog online, it's not so clear-cut whether it is right or wrong in today's society. It's highly debatable. And yes, of course, it's important to have restrictions on who you allow to see such personal stuff. Even in the it kind of parallels the Amy Chong issue,
right?
Yeah, but the idea of a sex blog online, it's not as clear cut as you can or you cannot do it.
Right. Yeah, I guess so. Okay, well, that's our take on it. Let us know what you think in the comments below. And we've also posted the entire YouTube video, which shows their response in the dialogue box. And, well, apart from that, we will see you, or rather you will hear us next week.
Yep.
Bye.